we established that there's an overwhelming, at least, population that we neglect of atheists that do believe in, I guess, pseudo religiosity, right?
Yeah.
Where would you stem the cause of the people that don't even believe in that, the people that are like, okay, I don't even believe in anything? And do you think it's an issue with them submitting to God, or at least humiliating themselves? Because a trend I see with a lot of these sad people is they're very narcissistic on average, and they think like, okay, why would I submit to God? I'm better than that.
This is a really, really good question, and there's even more research. I did a video on this as well. What they did was scientists, I think it was in the States. I'm hazy on the details. I'm just trying to recollect what was done. They did an experiment comparing a group of atheists to a group of people of faith to see if they would respond in the same way when to a series of questions. And I think, if I remember rightly, I wish I prepared this in advance, by the way, it would be more precise. But this is under scientific conditions. So you have a control group of atheists, a control group of people of faith, be they Christians or Muslims or whatever. Um, so how did they respond biologically? I mean, they were being tested. It's not like what did they say. You could take their blood pressure, you could take their pulse, you could analyze their physical responses to various verbal stimuli. So I think, again, this is from memory, and I probably got this fairly crude. It's a fairly crude remembrance of this, but so one question was, how do you respond to the idea of your neighbor threatening you? So you know your neighbor, they're going to threaten you. How would you feel about that? And of course, people feel bad about that. You know, that someone could hurt them, and everyone felt the same, be you atheist or believer. And another question was, how would you feel if you were told that God would hurt you, or God would send you to hell? How would you feel about that? Now, an atheist, of course, shouldn't respond to that because it's all spaghetti monster. It's all fiction. It's all myth. The believer, when they'd heard that God was going to send someone to hell, or that God was going to punish someone, and it was true, they did react. It caused a reaction. It was something that meant something to them. So what was the actual physical outcome? What did the scientists deduce? The scientists discovered that the atheists actually also, despite what they think in their heads, they also reacted to the idea that God would do something to their loved one, or send them to hell, or curse them or something. I forget the exact formula. But they also instinctively felt that this was something they could react to. In other words, they reacted like people of faith. They couldn't help themselves, even though in their heads they didn't believe any of it. So what does this show? And it shows that even atheists, hardcore materialist atheists, still can't help but respond to like believers do when God is seen as something threatening them or threatening their loved one. Appearances can be deceptive. Someone can tell you, I'm an atheist, I don't believe anything else. And if you say to them, well, God's going to curse your mother, and they, I don't believe in God. But deep down, they do react. They respond like people who do believe in God. They can't help themselves. They in a fundamental way, react to this existential reality, this theological reality. You see what I mean? I'm explaining it badly, but I'm trying to say that things are not always what they seem on the surface. And again, this is scientific research that was published. So basically, people of faith and atheists all react to God when a threatening scenario involving God is portrayed to them. Even though atheists don't acknowledge it openly, they still biologically, physiologically, emotionally, in their brains respond to it as if it were real. Yeah. Even though they deny it, they can't help react to it.
That's mind-blowing.
This is a scientific finding. So this tells us, to be rude for a second, that most atheists are not really atheists. They're fakes, because deep down, they know the truth. And science is showing this. This is not some kind of theological insight. This is scientific research is showing this. And I thought that was absolutely extraordinary. So I wonder, if Richard Dawkins, if he was hooked up to a test like this, and, someone said to him, a scientist says, and how do you respond to this? and God will curse your mother, or God will and send your mother to hell. And he would say, doesn't bother me. I don't believe in God. But actually, deep down, he may be troubled by that, like a believer would be. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, subhanAllah.
Subhanallah.
Bro, I think that's mind blowing. And just think about it for a second, right? God says in the Quran, Allah says in the Quran, you can't, if God chooses to lead someone astray, there's nothing anyone can do to bring them back, right? And it's as if they have this veil covering them to where they can't see, they can't hear. But that doesn't change the fact that they are still a creation from God.
Yeah.
And the fact is that the creation from God has that fitra, that innate belief. And even science is coming on to this now, where it's like, yo, humans are just
You can test
innately
it.
religious.
Yeah.
We're innately religious. So even these atheists who claim to be atheists aren't really atheists.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, even these people who are astray,
because their own bodies betray them. Their own blood pressure, pulse, idolate, the whole thing betrays them. They react like religious people. When confronted with a hostile God who threatens them, they react like, even though they don't believe in this God, their own fitra still reacts, even though mentally they may not believe it. And that is a vindication of the Quran's teaching on the fitra, actually, a scientific confirmation of the Quran on this subject.
and it also confirms the part where God says,
Say Bismillah, bro. What are you doing?
Bro, it's in my head, man. Stuff.
There you go. I like that. I like that. I think there's another thing too. It's the perseverance aspect too. Like, we're more willing to stick through with things that we set out with an intention.
It's impossible to have empathy for others if you're not patient. So may Allah bless you for that.
first off, I'm gonna agree with the fact that the whole thing you said about friends, where it's like if they're affecting you more than you're affecting them, then you should probably get some new friends.
You want to be investing, stocks, shares, bonds. You want to be investing in crypto, because there's this thing called inflation, which means every year that passes by, the value of a dollar goes lower and lower and lower. And the reason being is because they're printing more money, right? That's why money is haram. At least the paper money is haram.
Provided that you're actually there and you're being a good father and the mother's being a good mother, best conditions.
And behind the mic, Hamza, Andreas, Zortsis, we will go in with our final three with brother Anghel, inshallah.
Inshallah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
It's not just a responsibility on you, it's responsibility on all the children, especially your father.
In our private area is very elastic, and yeah, if you go too fast, the skin will literally crease up into like the edge of like the little clipper things, and you will literally clip your skin. You don't want to be on YouTube or the internet or anything that amount of time, but it's the fact is that's what we're doing.